All right. Hey, AP Chemists. This is going to be our next lecture for Important Information Part 2. It'll be -6. This is the periodic law and the periodic table. So I mentioned in an earlier lecture something called groups in a periodic table. If you look at a periodic table, there are groups, which are vertical columns, and we have periods, which are horizontal rows. So groups are vertical columns. Period is horizontal row. So left, right, up and down is group. Elements and groups have similar chemical properties. Oh my goodness, you need to know this for AP Chem. AP Chem, oh my goodness. Elements in the same group behave similarly. So they behave or react similarly. So elements in group 1, like this is group 1, here's group 2, this is group 3, group 4A, we'll talk about that. Those elements will behave and react similarly. So you'll get an example what element will bond to O just like F does, right? And F is fluorine, and that, if you look on the periodic table, you're trying to figure it out. Sorry, that's spelled wrong. Fluorine is in group 7. So any other group 7 element will bond to oxygen just like F will. So Br, Cl, those are examples, right? That would be a good question. And then period, and we'll see more in the school year, properties increase or decrease across a row. So it might increase going from left to right, it might decrease. And again, when we say properties, we mean things like density, boiling, melting, conductivity, reactivity with other elements, charge. All right. Other things that you're supposed to recognize is the divisions of the periodic table. I have a nice little color coding here. If yours is not color coded, I would suggest coming up with 3 different colors here. I would say color if you need. Look at how the location of metals, nonmetals, and metalloids are. All right, metals are mostly on the left side of the periodic table here. You can see all that coloring. We have our nonmetals on the right side of the periodic table. And then kind of at the stepping stone here, we have metalloids. Metalloids act as metals and nonmetals. So keep that in mind about if you look at a periodic table, you're going to have to be able to recognize and say, oh, cadmium is a metal. Oh, but fluorine is a nonmetal. Here's another little breakdown here, just simplified. We have our main group elements, which are groups 1 and groups 2. We have transition elements, and then we have another set of main group elements. And again, these are mostly our nonmetals over here. And these are mostly our metals on the left side. So just to break it down kind of differently with this metals, nonmetals, and metalloids, there are different physical and chemical properties of metals and nonmetals here. So metals tend to be good conductors of heat and electricity. They're malleable, which means they can be hammered into sheets. They're ductile. They're shiny. They tend to lose electrons and form positive ions. So example is Mg, Au, W, right? And Mg will become Mg2+ as an example. Nonmetals, they are poor conductors of heat and electricity. They have a dull appearance. They have low density, low melting point. I should also add that the metals have high melting points and boiling points. So let's add that in. It's the opposite. Again, they're opposite each other. Opposite. Right? Literally in the name, metal, nonmetal. Right? They tend to gain electrons and form negative ions. So things like chlorine will be Cl-1. Oxygen will form O2-. So chlorine, oxygen, fluorine. I could do phosphorus. I could do bromine. Many different examples here. All right. I didn't talk about metalloids too much, but use this nice little periodic table here to figure out the metalloids. We only have like a few of them. We only have boron, silicon, germanium, arsenic, antimony, tellurium, and astatine. Those would be our metalloids. They act as metals and nonmetals. They're very fancy. They're not really asked too much, but they do fancy things, and we'll learn about that later in the school year. All right, use this information to answer exercises 10 and 11, identifying things as metal, nonmetal, and metalloid. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know.